Rothschild family, the most powerful empire in the world. This is a family photo that appears ordinary, but hidden behind it is an extraordinary story. In reality, these individuals come from a family deeply tied to power and wealth. Their fortune is immeasurable and has been passed down through many generations. We are talking about the Rothschild family, one of the most famous and wealthiest dynasties in history. However, every success must have a starting point, and the Rothschild family is no exception. Their origins truly began in a slum in Germany. Exceptional individuals overcame numerous hardships and challenges to elevate the entire Rothschild family to the pinnacle of power and prestige. Right now, let's explore the remarkable stories of this family. Starting from the slums. The success of the Rothschild Empire originated from this man, named Mayer Amschel Bauer, born into a poor Jewish family. Mayer's childhood was tied to a slum in Frankfurt, Germany. This cramped, impoverished, and unclean area was called Judengasse, or translated as the Alley of the Jews. At that time, houses were not distinguished by numbers, but by colors or specific symbols. For example, the house where Mayer Amschel's ancestors lived stood out with a red shield, which in German translates to Rothschild. The residents of Judengasse also referred to each other based on these address characteristics, so the Bauer family was also known as the Rothschild house. No one could have imagined that this name, Rothschild, would be officially adopted by Mayer Amschel as his surname and later become the symbol of an entire dynasty. At the age of 12, both of his parents passed away early due to a smallpox epidemic, and his relatives were no longer able to care for him. So they decided to send Mayer to live in Hanover with a cousin. There, Mayer secured an apprenticeship at the renowned Oppenheimer Bank. With his natural talent combined with diligence, he quickly amassed valuable knowledge in finance and business. At the same time, he developed a parallel hobby related to collecting and trading ancient coins. It was through this collecting activity that Mayer befriended an important client, Prince William of Hesse-Kassel, a man famously wealthy for supplying mercenaries for wars. At the time, Prince William was particularly interested in the novel idea of trading government bonds, not to mention that this powerful man also wanted to provide numerous loans anonymously. For this reason, Prince William needed intermediary banks to handle his transactions, and one of the people he trusted to establish such a bank was Mayer Amschel Rothschild. Mayer returned to Frankfurt and began his own banking business. Thanks to effectively managing and investing the prince's assets, Mayer earned substantial commissions and profits. His reputation and status grew, and his other business and trading activities flourished as a result. By the late 18th century, the Rothschild family had become one of the wealthiest and most powerful families in Frankfurt. However, Mayer's ambitions did not stop there. He harbored a plan to create a financial empire spanning across Europe. To achieve this goal, the assistance of the next generation was indispensable. Mayer had 5 sons. Amschel would take over Frankfurt, Solomon was sent to Vienna to expand the market, and a similar task was assigned to Nathan, but his destination was London, England. Karl would go to Naples, Italy, while the youngest son, James, was tasked with managing operations in Paris, France. The most prominent among the 5 sons was undoubtedly Nathan Rothschild. He was described as a shrewd, highly ambitious, and fiercely competitive man. Initially, Nathan lived in Manchester to start his career in the textile industry. By proactively managing raw materials, suppliers, and manufacturers, he quickly optimized the supply chain and generated significant profits from the clothing industry. In no time, Nathan turned an initial capital of £20,000 into a fortune worth £60,000. To expand his influence, he moved to London and established a branch of the Rothschild Bank. His business ventures did not stop there. Nathan also leveraged the family's influence to engage in gold and commodity smuggling. Moreover, numerous anecdotes claim that Nathan Rothschild exploited early information about the outcome of the Battle of Waterloo to manipulate financial markets. According to these stories, He bought a large volume of British government bonds at a low price when the market was in panic, believing Napoleon had won. Later, when news of Britain's victory was widely announced, Nathan sold the bonds at a high price, reaping enormous profits. Although this anecdote remains unverified and subject to conflicting opinions, it is undeniable that within just a few years of starting his business in London, Nathan had become a financial tycoon in the land of fog. A Belgian diplomat stationed in England once remarked, "The Rothschilds' influence on finance here is so great it's terrifying. When Nathan gets angry, even the Bank of England trembles." Returning to Mayer Amschel Rothschild, in 1811, he contributed a large sum of money to the authorities. This amount was in exchange for the Frankfurt Emancipation Decree. This was an extremely important legal document under which Jews living in Frankfurt, along with their descendants, would enjoy the same civil rights and privileges as other citizens. This decree marked the end of centuries of discrimination against Jews. While it could not change the perceptions of the entire community, at the very least, Jews in Frankfurt could now move freely and conduct business without restrictions. At this point, Mayer Rothschild had truly realized one of the greatest dreams of his life. Not only did he change the fate of himself and his family, but he also transformed the destiny of the entire Jewish community in Frankfurt. In 1812, just 1 year after fulfilling his aspiration, Mayer passed away and was buried in a Jewish cemetery along the wall of the slum from years past. Although the Judengasse area has disappeared over time, the cemetery and Mayer Amschel Rothschild's tomb remain preserved to this day. A new chapter of the empire rises. After their father's passing, the 5 Rothschild brothers remained united and continued to grow the family business. They focused on lending services to the aristocracy and government systems, especially in the 19th century. Wars became increasingly complex across Europe. Many nations had an urgent need to borrow money to fund conflicts. It was at this moment that the Rothschild banking system emerged and met every borrowing demand. Interest and commissions steadily increased, allowing the family to earn substantial profits. It can be said that wars were truly a golden opportunity for the 5 Rothschild brothers to prosper. Not only that, the Rothschild family also developed an advanced information and communication network spanning Europe. Thanks to this, they accessed news much faster than their competitors, almost monopolizing valuable information. Within the family, members used a special communication method to secure information. They communicated in Yiddish, a distinctive dialect of the Frankfurt region, combined with a private encryption system that only internal members could understand. Thanks to the strength of this information network, the Rothschild family maximized the exchange rate differences between European markets. They could buy bonds and currencies in one city and almost immediately sell them at a profit in another. Essentially, this was the earliest form of the now famous arbitrage trading. On July 28, 1836, an unexpected event shook the European financial world. Nathan Rothschild passed away at the age of 58. His death caused a great shock, especially given the tradition of longevity in the Rothschild family. Notably, Nathan's mother was still alive at the time and lived past 90. Nathan Rothschild's departure caused significant turbulence in financial markets. However, thanks to the decentralized structure, the Rothschild bank branches continued to operate and grow normally. Nevertheless, the family needed to find a new leader for the next phase, and the chosen one was the youngest brother, James Rothschild. Compared to his brother Nathan, James was equally shrewd and talented. In Paris, he quickly became renowned for his business acumen and extensive network of connections. However, when France faced financial difficulties after the war, James was surprised that the government of King Louis XVIII never approached him for a loan. It turned out that the French aristocracy looked down on and refused to cooperate with an outsider like James Rothschild. Despite being extremely wealthy, James did not have a high social standing. The arrogance of the French nobility greatly infuriated him. James decided to carry out a financial retaliation. Accordingly, he collaborated with his brothers to manipulate the French bond market, causing a severe crisis for Louis XVIII's government. Ultimately, they were forced to seek the Rothschild family's help to stabilize the situation. This event significantly elevated James's status in France. However, James understood well that relying solely on the power of money would not grant him a solid foothold in French society. After considering various options, he began organizing lavish and extravagant events. He hired the best architects and chefs to prepare unprecedentedly luxurious banquets in Paris. James genuinely demonstrated respect and a desire to integrate into French culture and society. This strategy quickly attracted the attention of the elite. James's weekly galas became increasingly crowded, and within a few years, he truly gained social recognition and won the favor of the French upper class of the time. This was considered a major achievement, showcasing James Rothschild's adaptability. When he took on the leadership of the entire family, James immediately focused attention and poured money into the emerging industry of railways. Previously, his brother Nathan did not believe that train locomotives could replace the flexibility of horses, but later, everyone recognized the potential of this new mode of transportation. By the 1840s, the Rothschild family had invested heavily and was recognized as the railway tycoon of Europe. They reaped significant profits from commissions and transactions related to railway stocks. In addition, the family expanded its investment portfolio into various other fields. They invested in valuable wineries in France, acquired shares in the Suez Canal in Egypt, and made substantial investments in mineral extraction, particularly diamond mining. Most notably, after James Rothschild's death in 1868, the next generation of the family made a bold move. The new market they targeted was based on the rise of an emerging superpower, the United States, a nation experiencing remarkable growth thanks to the Industrial Revolution's breakthroughs. Thanks to abundant financial resources, combined with partnerships with prominent capitalists like J.P. Morgan, the Rothschilds made steady strides into the American market. However, not all steps were without missteps in the land of stars and stripes. In the 1870s, through a reputable capitalist named August Belmont, the Rothschilds invested in a promising diamond mine in the western United States. The mine's owners were two rustic prospectors named Philip Arnold and John Slack. The diamonds found in this mine were certified as genuine by renowned experts like Charles Tiffany and Louis Janin. This quickly led to the establishment of a mining company with a $10 million investment, naturally involving the Rothschilds. Arnold and Slack were paid $700,000 to relinquish ownership of the mine. However, when Belmont and other investors returned to the mining site, they discovered there were no more diamonds. The entire story turned out to be an elaborate scam, deceiving even the wealthiest and most astute people of the time. The two fraudsters, Arnold and Slack, had posed as naive, simple prospectors. They then spent money to buy real diamonds to plant in the mine, faking its potential. This scam of the century destroyed Belmont's reputation, while the Rothschilds quietly learned their lesson. After all, no one was obligated to guarantee them that the mine would contain diamonds. Nevertheless, this scam did not affect the overall development of the Rothschilds in the 19th century. However, the story would be entirely different as the 20th century began. Decline and Reconstruction. Entering the 20th century, the Rothschild family's prosperity began to decline. One of the main reasons stemmed from the practice of consanguineous marriages. To keep secrets and prevent wealth or power from leaking out, they enforced marriages within the Rothschild family. Previously, in the second generation, 14 out of 19 marriages were between cousins. The consequence of this was the emergence of hereditary schizophrenia. Additionally, the trend of having more daughters increased, and according to unwritten rules, daughters, daughters-in-law, and sons-in-law were excluded from the family's business operations. These factors led to a shortage of male heirs. In 1900, the Naples branch in Italy collapsed when the last male heir died without a successor, forcing the assets to be transferred to the Paris branch. Meanwhile, in Frankfurt, the fact that the only heirs were daughters caused the family's wealth to be fragmented, and their power gradually became dispersed. These were internal family issues, but outside in society, another latent threat was emerging, endangering the existence of the Rothschild dynasty. Anti-Semitism was rising across Europe, and the Rothschilds were the focal point of criticism and hostility. For a long time, their immense wealth had made them the target of envy and resentment. The climax occurred in 1939, when World War II began, and Hitler's extreme anti-Semitism came to power. The Nazis quickly carried out brutal crackdowns on Jews in every territory they occupied, and the Rothschild family became the primary target of a massive asset seizure campaign. In Austria, the Vienna branch faced a harsh fate. Louis Nathaniel Rothschild, head of the Austrian branch, was arrested and imprisoned for over a year. He was only released after the family handed over most of its assets to the Nazis. The magnificent Rothschild Palace in Vienna was also confiscated and turned into the headquarters of German intelligence. Even valuable art collections were seized or transferred to the personal assets of Nazi officials under Hitler's command. Similar events occurred with the Paris branch in France. Many members of the Rothschild family had to abandon significant assets and flee Europe to seek exile in safer countries. Only the branch in England survived and retained most of its wealth. After World War II, it was from this branch in the land of fog that the Rothschild family's reconstruction began. From the latter half of the 20th century, a generation of outstanding figures, such as Jacob Rothschild and Evelyn de Rothschild, helped the family regain its former glory. However, instead of aiming for expansion, the Rothschild family focused on funding the elite while avoiding public attention. Today, the lists of the world's richest billionaires from reputable organizations and magazines never feature any names from the Rothschild family. But not being public does not mean not being wealthy. Besides banking, Rothschild family members have diversified their interests and activities in investment and asset management. On a global scale, numerous rumors and theories about the Rothschild family persist, attracting widespread public interest. Many believe the family still holds significant political influence. For example, Evelyn de Rothschild was once a close financial advisor to Queen Elizabeth II, and notably, French President Emmanuel Macron once worked at Rothschild & Co. Bank. Later, Macron became a shareholder of the bank before officially entering French politics. And that is the history of the formation and development of the Rothschild family. From a poor slum in Frankfurt, Mayer Amschel, along with his descendants, built a financial empire that went down in history. Beyond the famous stories, there are still countless mysteries about the wealth and power of this family waiting to be explored. I hope you enjoyed this video.